It's that time. I've been putting this off for months, and I'm finally deciding to get it out of the way. For some reason, at this time, my Backyard Wrestling review is the most popular review on my channel. I really don't think it's my best, but my viewers seem to enjoy it, so I guess that's all that matters. For that, I do thank you. Due to that little fact, I knew I was going to have to review this game. I really don't want to. Everything I read about it makes it look like it's even worse than the original. How that's possible, I don't know. But it's a scary thought. But here we go. Backyard Wrestling 2. There goes the neighborhood. I really don't want to do this. I guess it's time to put it in the PS2, though. I really don't want to put this in here. Let's go, though. What the? Okay. Try this again. The fuck? That's alright. I don't know why it's ejecting it right away. What the hell? Go in. Are you kidding me? Okay, it's not like my disc tray defective. Go in. Stay in. Oh, come on. Go in. Stay there. Damn it. Maybe I should put it in upside down. Maybe that'll work. Oh, fuck. Go in. I just want to play a shitty game for once. No, fuck this. You know, when a PS2 refuses to load the game, I should have stopped then and there. But I couldn't. I just had to see how bad this game was. Looking back on it, that probably wasn't the best of ideas. Story-wise, the game at least has a bit of a plot. Some guy, supposedly the president of Backyard Wrestling, if that even exists, is offering $1 million to the winner of some backyard wrestling tournament. You have to go through multiple circuits and defeat hundreds of competitors to win the money. That is, in essence, the career mode. Whereas in the first game, you just have to fight a few guys and make your way to a Jerry Springer wannabe, the game actually has a legit career. You create your own fighter and then choose one of 3 starting areas. You choose to just wrestle random characters or attempt missions, which also double as a tutorial of sorts. Let me touch on the create a wrestler quick. It's expanded upon a ton from the first game, but that's not saying much, because when you compare it to other wrestling games that featured this option, especially around the same time, it's still very much lacking in features. At least there's a lot more moves and outfits you can choose from, with more available to be unlocked as you play the game. What's strange is that to change the colors, use L1 and R1, as opposed to just simply selecting a color. Weird. I guess I can't complain too much, since at least the creators did expand upon the seriously lame feature from the first game. So when you start the career mode, which should you definitely do, instead of just doing exhibition matches, you'll get a small scene detailing your goal. You'll notice that there's some really awful voice acting here, and some wrestler in the background wanting to hump anything the entire time. He is an available character, so if you really want to play as an extra horny guy who will fuck anything for the thrill, well, the option's there. After this is done, you get the main menu of the career mode. You have the shop, which you can purchase more outfits or movies. They thought they were smart by calling it Mall Mart. Come on, really? Home may sound strange, but it's actually where you can edit your character. Exit career is pretty self-explanatory. The final 3 options all designate environments to wrestle in. You can choose any of them in any order, and even flip between them at will. Once you choose one of these options, you have the option to just fight, do a mission, or a challenge. The challenges are unlocked once you complete all of the missions. If I remember right, one stage gives you a title fight, and I can only assume that this is available once all missions and challenges are completed for those 3 levels. So let's move on to the gameplay. It's not too radically different from the first game. It's still strictly one-on-one wrestling in various outer-ring areas. This time around, there's more varied environments, like a trailer park lot, a pool area, and a construction zone. I'll get to these areas in a bit. As for the gameplay itself, the game takes a bit higher focus on the grappling, but it's still not entirely in the forefront. Weapons are still the primary selling point of the game, but there seems to be a lack of them. In fact, the weapons that are placed around all have similar animations. This is a bit disappointing. Each weapon should have its own attack, especially when using the grapple type attack with the weapon. Although physical strikes weren't changed too much, grappling moves have gotten a bit overhauled. Instead of just basic forward grapples, you can now grab your opponent from the side or back, increasing the amount of moves you can perform. Side ones are very limited to one submission, one physical attack, and one grapple, but it's still a huge improvement. Speaking of submissions, these were added into the game as well. Sure, there were a few submission holds in the first game, but you couldn't really do much with them. Here, you have a whole category of submissions. When you perform one of these attacks, you'll be able to mash buttons to do more damage to your opponent. Of course, they can do the same to you, so you'll mash buttons on the other side to prevent the hurt. In addition, you can actually pin your opponent now, although I don't see much reason to. It's there, but not anything you really have to worry about. Finally, there are now environmental grapples. When you hold on to someone, you can get near an object in level and see an exclamation mark pop up. If you press triangle here, you can perform a special attack that typically does a good chunk of damage. It's always something to look out for. You may remember the 3 stun meters that you had in the original game. Those are gone for a much easier to understand turbo meter. This meter charges on its own and powers your running, special counters, and special moves. Running forces it to deplete quickly. If it's at least half full, you can perform a grapple reversal. When full, you can perform your character's special move. I actually prefer this system. Enemies can still be stunned, but only when doing strike grapples. One other nice addition is that your life regens when you're not getting attacked. Although it's never really a huge tactical decision to do this, the option is available to you. The strange thing is that the life bar only takes up half the bar on the top of the screen. Is there a reason why the top part is blank? Why is this even there if there's no use for it? I've played quite a few matches, but I've never seen any use for that top part of the life meter. I have no idea why it's there. So when you first start playing the game, you may think, well, this isn't so bad. In fact, it's much better than the first game. So why is everybody bitching? But then you keep playing, and the shit starts to surface. It's like sucking in your breath. You suck it in, you look down and say, hey, I don't have a gut. I can see my feet. Then a few seconds later, you get the urge to breathe. You hold on a bit longer, then you let your breath out because you have to. Look down, and fuck, you're fat again. That's kind of how this game shows. You start playing it, the game has its breath sucked in. As you play, the game has to breathe and lets all of its flaws come out into the open. But where do I start? Well, let's start with the pacing. All moves are done at an incredibly quick, arcade-like pace, yet movement speed is as slow as a slug. Not a bullet slug, mind you, but instead an actual Animal Kingdom slug. A slug that would be trying to crawl up the wrong side of an escalator. That's how slow it feels like your character moves. It makes no sense to walk so slowly and yet perform moves so quickly. Sure, you can use R1 to run, but this eats up your valuable turbo meter. The main problem with the game is the fighting itself. Of course, being that this is 99% of the game, this is obviously a cause for concern. I'm just going to start listing all the problems. 1. Trying to attack someone who's in mid-attack is impossible. If you attempt to disrupt an opponent while they're in the middle of a combo attack, your defense will mean nothing. Their combo strikes will connect, and you will get hurt, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. But don't think about trying this yourself, they can block you easily. 2nd, hit detection is extremely questionable. If your opponent is stunned from doing a grapple and a strike move, you may not be able to really connect with anything other than another grapple. If you throw your opponent to the crowd that's watching, and they take hold of them, you might not be able to take advantage of this. I've tried multiple times, but no luck at all. My fish should be striking skull, but instead it's like they're swatting air. 3rd, the countering. This in itself breaks the game in more ways than you can imagine. You can't really have a fighting game in which you can't properly defend yourself. You can block physical strikes without a problem, provided that you block before your attack starts, of course. But grapples? Fuck me, that's impossible, I swear. With a half-full turbo meter, you can go ahead and press L1 and R1 together when grappled to do a special counter, in which control shifts to you. But if an opponent grapples you and tries to do a move, there's a completely different and super shitty way of countering. It was easier in the first game, because the enemy would flash, you press a button, and if your timing was right, the move would be defended against. Not here. Now you just try to press one of the face buttons to counter against what your opponent is trying to do. If you think they're going to do a strike move, you press square. If you think they're going to do a power bomb, you press X. If you think they're going to make you tap out, you press circle. And if you think they're going to whip you across the lawn, you press triangle. Do you see the problem here? There's 4 fucking buttons that you need to use to block your opponent's advances. 4 buttons. That's 3 more than most games. Some games have 2 buttons, one for attacks and one for grapples. But no game I've ever played has 4 counter buttons. And that's not all. You need to time it perfectly. Button mashing? Fuck that, you need a precise button press. I think I may have countered 2 attacks in about 500 attempts. It's so broken, your only hope of winning is to do more attacks than your opponent. That's all, and that's pretty fucked up. Yet let's look at weapons. They're countered with your hands, just like a standard strike. I can see this for small objects, yet you'd think it'd still take a bit of damage. But what about a chainsaw or weed whacker? Since when would you be able to block a fucking chainsaw that's running with your bare fucking hands? This makes absolutely no fucking sense. You block a chainsaw once in this fashion, you can say hello to the newly formed nubs at the end of your wrists. If your wrists weren't detached with your fucking fingers. With all this, fights start losing their appeal quickly. That's even when considering who you fight. Have you noticed them at all? Have you seen the get-ups these rookies are wearing? I mean, really, how can you take a game seriously when all of your opponents are wearing shit like this? You can't. It's impossible. The naming of these characters doesn't help any. Yes, they were amusing at first, but they lose their entertainment value quickly. In fact, most of the shit you can buy in the store for clothing for your character is borderline wacky shit that you would probably never wear in a contest like backyard wrestling. You're supposed to look like a hardcore motherfucker, not a cosplayer who got drunk at the party last night and had even more drunk friends dress you while you were passed the fuck out. Let's move on to the stages. Some of them are cool, others are lacking in effort. The first stage is pretty fun, as is the trailer park. The mini-golf stage is surprisingly fun too, just because you destroy a town. Almost makes it feel like War of the Monsters. Although that game is galaxies better than this. I haven't played that in a while. I should play that one time. Okay, I should really get back on track and finish this damn review before I start going off track about better games. Anyway, back to stages. Some of the stages, like the junkyard and construction site, feel a bit bare. You'd think that these would have a ton of potential, but it's like the designers got lazy and just wanted to finish the game. Can't say I really blame them, but they already started it, so they should have finished it. Finally, the load times. All I'm going to say is that every match has to load, regardless on whether you're changing levels or not. I'll just let you see how long this takes in real time. And in case you want to recap, it's about 22 seconds between every match. I think that's all I have for this pile of fecal abomination. Backyard Wrestling 2, There Goes the Neighborhood, is best avoided. Yes, it's still marginally better than its predecessor, but as I said, it's not by much. The polish they put on this game wasn't really buffed out too well, so the features that were added just don't feel like they were implemented in the best way possible. Even the soundtrack, the original game's saving grace, isn't as good. I feel bad for Andrew WK, who happens to be a playable character. How they were able to bribe him into this blows my mind. At least he has a cool special move. Final score? 4 out of 10. That's 1 whole point better than the original game, because I had to rate it at least a little bit better, since some things were improved upon. Although I still wouldn't recommend that game, unless you want to torture yourself or your friends. And if you torture your friends, I'm not responsible for them never speaking to you again. I warned you. I'm Reaper, and it's time to make sure this game never disappoints anyone else ever again. Happy fragging.